Hi, this is Andy Collin from Growing Up Aspen Adventures of the Unsupervised. I'm here with Chris Pomeroy and Heath Kizzier. Heath um, came into Aspen High in his senior year and graduated. Moved on, went into acting. Was in Wyatt Earp with Kevin Costner. Did 3 years in Young and Restless, and now runs and owns Four Oaks Farms. So let's catch up with Heath and hear his adventure. So can you go from Aspen to where you are now and the journey that you took? Because I feel like it is interesting to see each one of us had such crazy different directions to get to where we are.
Yeah, and Aspen was a big part of that, of how the direction changed. So when I was waiting tables in Aspen as one of my jobs, and met a diner there. She saw me flirting with some girl, and that's a whole nother story, but she pulled me out to the side later on, and before she left, and she said, I'm a photographer, and would you be interested in, you have good look and you have an interesting look, would you be interested in taking some photos? And I work here, and I forget one of the main stores. She did a lot of photography for them. And so I said, yeah, sure. And so I go and take some photos, and the photos they didn't turn out well at all. I still had that heavy kind of baby fat, and the pictures weren't that great, but it kind of put something in my brain. So the day after high school graduation, I threw everything back in the truck and I drove out to California. And I had a job working at what was called the Wheel Gear Theatricum Botanicum, and it was an outdoor theater, and so I had a job doing that, and that was a nighttime job. During the day, I was training horses for a gazillionaire producer out here in LA on the cliffs of Malibu. So I would take these horses down onto the beach, on this private beach. All the Streisand lived right there, and somebody else lived right there, and so riding horses.
Was it in the canyon, or right there along the?
It was right on the 101, literally on the cliffside.
Wow.
in Malibu.
Streisand, do you remember that roundhouse at Maroon Creek up at the high school? There was like grass that went over the roof, and the actual building would turn with the sun. I think the first owner of that house was Barbara Streisand.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
So, it is interesting. So in Malibu, that's a pretty cool place up there.
Yeah, it was outstanding, and they weren't there very often, so I kind of had the run of the place, and it was very, very cool. So anyway, at that time, I'm working at the theater at night, doing this thing during the day, and I ended up with a couple of roommates who were stuntmen, and they were quite a bit older than I, and they had a party at the house, and their agent showed up at the party, and he said, "Hey, you have a good look. You want to do some stuff?" And I said, "Well, sure." And again, just following life. And I ended up getting some commercials right away. And I went, "Oh, well, this works. It was good money."
Yeah.
And at that time, somebody else pulled me off the side of the street and wanted me to do some modeling, and I was getting more fit, and took some pictures, and again, they weren't great. And the main modeling agency said, you have a good look, but you're gonna have to lose 10 pounds. And at that time, I mean, I'm a big kid, and couple hundred pounds, and so I take that as a challenge. I lose 12 pounds in about 5 days, and I go back on the next week and I say, "Hi, I lost 10 pounds." And so they were kind of obligated to take me.
Wait a minute, 12 pounds in 5 days?
Oh yeah, it was, back
That's
then
like the
you could do that.
supermodel diet with cocaine, crackers, and water.
Yeah, the whole trash bag over your shoulders and the whole thing.
He's sweating it off.
Yeah.
You went full on Vision Quest.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, they took me on, and I get a call probably 6 to 8 weeks later, and they say, "Hey, there's somebody in the office that you should come meet." Okay, and so I go down there and I meet this guy, and he's an agent from Paris, and I get signed on to go to Paris, and all I have to do is get the flight to go there. They'll supply the housing and transportation and all the other stuff when I'm there. And I had to buy a Euro pass, so I had to get there and I had to buy a Euro pass. So basically spent a year in Paris, and at this point, I guess I'm 18 now. And yeah, so spend a year doing that. And I was not a good candidate for them because I wanted to travel. And so I would go, after the first couple of weeks, I was just getting bored. And so I would start, because I had the Euro pass, so you can go anywhere in Europe. And so I started just on the weekends, on Friday afternoon, I'd go to the train station and just look at the board, and whatever the next train is going, I would go. I'd just jump on the thing and go to wherever the train was going. And it got to the point where that was fun. And then I started hopping trains. And so I would be going to Germany or something, and I'd see something that was cool, looking out the window, and I'd just jump off and go hike and go play. And so I did a lot of camping, and so I just had a little backpack and a sleeping bag stuffed in there, and so I didn't make them a whole lot of money. I think the deal was, it was a 30-70 split or something. They took the big piece of it, and yeah, so that was a fun adventure.
And that was primarily for what, like magazines or something, or
yeah,
anything folks would have seen you in that they might remember?
I was not really editorial, so there's two different things of acting. There's the real, cut, felt guys that are editorial, and they're going to be on the GQ and the Vogue and things like that. And I was more the sportswear guy, and so shorts and t-shirts and things like that. So no. It was just, Sears catalog kind of stuff.
Gotcha. I was gonna ask that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
A lot of Sears catalog.
Montgomery Ward, yeah.
Yeah. And then I probably just would have stayed there for who knows when, because again, I was just following life, and I had to come back on the spur of the moment. Grandfather died, and so I came back here to California or South Dakota, and did the funeral, and then back to LA, and then just kind of fell into doing the actor stuff. I moved out of the modeling, went into the actor, so I was again that just commercial guy. So I think I did over 60-70 commercials, and I was Miller beer was a big one. I think I did 6 of those different over the course of years. Meanwhile, always auditioning. So I did Columbo and Murder, She Wrote, and a bunch of that kind of stuff. Ultimately, I started doing a bunch of westerns, and that was my thing. I loved doing that. And got a job. Which one did I do first? Oh, so I got Wyatt Earp with Kevin Costner, and so spent 5-6 weeks in New Mexico working on that.
Cool.
And that was, well, I mean, that's one of those stories too, where I was auditioning for one of the brothers in that movie, and I went in probably 6 different times and stepping up the ladder each time, and ultimately I did not get that. I did not get the brother, but they liked me well enough that they gave me a job. Well, the job that they gave me, I was just so disappointed that I didn't get the brother, and so I didn't take it all that seriously, because I didn't have that many lines, and why movie making goes so slow that I literally could have done my job in 3 days and been gone, but things just kept taking so long. So I was there for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so the funny story on that set, so I didn't take it very seriously, and I'm there for weeks before I'm in makeup and wardrobe and the whole thing, and I'm ready to go, and for weeks I'm there, and I'm just, we're not getting to me. And so it's now, I've been on the set forever, and we're doing 16 or 18 hour days, and we're right in at 14, 15 hours in the day, and I'm figuring it's time to go, because our hotel's about an hour away from our set, and so you've got to travel, and tired, and I'm groggy, and they say, okay, my character's name was Red, we're up, let's go. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So, okay, I'm not really ready, but okay. And so the scene is this huge bar scene, and they've got 60 extras in there, and the part of it is, my gig is I have to come up to Costner and Tia Leone, who are having this conversation, and you have to interrupt them. And that's one of the hardest things to do, is to get your mark and interrupt when somebody else is in the middle of a scene, especially if you can't hear them and you don't know what's going on. And so the first time we do it, we do a rehearsal and everything's fine, and then we're doing the wide shot. And so they've got me all the way over on the other side of the room, and I'm just kind of standing beside the door, and somebody's going to cue me so that I can come in. And so we do the first one, goes well, the scene goes well, and Larry Kasdan, who is the director, who's super chill, he's like, Red, I can see you over there in this wide shot. We're gonna have to send you outside. Okay, so I go outside. Well, it's pitch dark, New Mexico, and we're out in the middle of nowhere, and everybody's inside, and so I'm out there alone, and the PA comes out and gives me this light, and it's a big brick, and it's got a little red light on. So, okay, when the red light goes, then you enter and go do the scene. Okay. Well, I'm out there, and it's crickets, and red light comes on, and it's so dark that it just scares the bejesus out of me. And okay, and I go in, and now they've got the music and the extras, and everybody's active, and so I go. The extras will not let me get through. I cannot get through. So I get to Costner, and I'm way late, and they're vamping, trying to fill the space until I get there. We do the scene. Red, you're late. Okay. I go back outside, and I go to the assistant director. I was like, look, the extras wouldn't let me through. Can you talk to the extras and help me out? So he does. We do the scene again. The extras part like the Red Sea. And there is no way that I can linger at all, because there's this lane to Costner. So I'm early. Red, you're early. Now I'm in the actor angst, and I'm panicking. And I complain again, and we do the scene again. Next time, extras are perfect. Everything's perfect. I land, and I blow my lines. First thing out of my mouth, and now I'm just horrified. And they've decided that they're gonna change, and okay, everybody take a break. We're gonna change the camera. So I'm now, because I didn't take this whole thing very seriously, and it's a very small little bit of dialogue. I'm now stuck in a corner behind a bunch of lights, and I'm sitting on the ground, going over my script, trying to memorize my lines, because I am just panicked. I'm just horrified. And I'm sitting there, and I feel somebody tap me on the shoulder, and I look up, and there's this kind of countertop, and Costner's, look up, and it's Costner. And he is so cool, and he starts telling me a story. He said, when I was doing JFK, and I had this 14-page monologue when he's in a courtroom, I think, And he said I would do it, and it felt great to me. And the director would come up, Stone was the director, and Stone would say, yeah, that was pretty good. If you could just do this about 3 to 5 seconds faster, that would be great. And Costner's thinking in his brain, he's going, it's a 14-page monologue. How am I going to do that? So anyway, he just completely puts me at ease. We get through the rest of the night. I'm now, the next couple of days, we have some horse riding stuff, and it's all exterior, and we get it done, and he's been great. And so he says, so we finish up the scene, and now the PAs are trying to get me out of there. They're trying to get me away, and so I don't go into overtime and all that. And it's Costner is watching, and it's clear that I don't want to go. I just want to watch. I want to watch what's going on because it's a fun day out there now. And he comes over and he says, "You want to stay?" And I said, "Well, I kind of do." And he said, "No worries, I'll get you home." So for the next several weeks, I am driving to and from set with Costner and his assistant, watching the whole time. When they're driving, they're running lines. And so I get to be in basically a master class of acting for weeks, hanging out with Kevin Costner. It was fantastic.
That's cool.
That's cool. You know, soon after that, I think is when he moved to Aspen and got that property, which is really cool.
Is it?
Yeah. It's got a bunch of
was it then or when they were shooting at Waterworld? I'm not even really sure.
Well, I think he got there in about 2008, and I think that's when did Wyatt
so that would have been the Waterworld.
Wyatt Earp was in the 90s.
Oh, it was in the 90s? Okay.
Yeah, early 90s. I
Okay.
believe it was 91 when I shot that.
That was awesome.
That's cool. You ever work with him again, or it was just that one time?
Just the one time.
So did you have any other acting experiences? You said you were on a TV show for a while.
Yeah, so that progressed. So I ended up on a show, The Young and the Restless, a daytime show, and it was on there for several years. And I was married. So Nikki and Victor are the two main people on that show, and have been for years. I remember watching them when I broke my arm in football, and instead of going to practice, a couple of us that were all injured, we'd go to somebody's house and we'd all watch soaps during two-a-days. And she was on that show, and so I get the show, and I'm married. I end up being married to Nikki. So Nikki and Victor have split up over the years, and so I end up married to Nikki. So problem with that was that most of my job on that show was what's called lay-in pipe. And so you basically lay down, you give her what she needs so that she can go do, the main part of the scene. And it was okay. And so I was on for 3 years, and I get in, and what happens is you come into your dressing room, and they put the scripts down for the following week. And so I'm reading through the scripts for the following week, and I'm reading, and it's Monday, and I get to Friday, and on Friday I'm shot. But the material is great, and so I call up to the front office and I say, "Hey, the stuff I just read the scripts, they're fantastic, but I'm shot. Am I dead?" And the lady starts, the lady starts crying. "Oh my goodness, I can't believe they didn't tell you." Well, so it was kind of then and there that I realized that as an actor, unless you're A-list, you're the last to be hired, you're the first to be fired, you have no control whatsoever. And so that's when I really started to segue out of acting. I was already writing, and so I was doing novels and doing some other stuff. So
what a way to find out, though. That's bizarre.
So
yeah.
Thanks for listening. The authors of Growing Up Aspen would like to thank you and would like to also thank the Aspen Times and the Aspen Daily News for giving us materials for our book, Growing Up Aspen, Adventures of the Unsupervised, which you can get at twistandturnpress.com and any local bookstore. Thanks.